So, welcome to the VR Creators Podcast. Today, we are joined by Sam, who I'm actually really excited to talk to. There's lots of different topics we're going to end up covering. But first, why don't you kind of just introduce yourself about who you are to all of my VR developers watching this?
Sure. Hey everyone, I'm Sam. I run the SamYam YouTube channel. I've run it for around 3 years and I mostly post Unity tutorials. Recently, I've been doing more fun kind of videos, so more devlogs and making little game jams. My dog is sneezing at me in the side right now. He's like, pay attention to me. And well, before that, I went to college for software engineering, not software engineering, computer science.
Hmm.
And I actually ran the virtual reality club at my school when it wasn't as popular back then, the VR stuff.
Yeah.
It was popular, but not as it is now. It was more like a even more niche that it is now. And so that's how I actually got into Unity. I forced myself to learn it for VR. And then I stopped VR and I went to work for a year as a software engineer. And then I quit because I didn't like it. And then, or I didn't care for it really. And then I'm doing YouTube and just fun side projects. I recently did like an AI site for stable diffusion textures just for fun.
Yeah, I was looking at that. I saw that. It looks pretty interesting. Very nice.
Thanks.
You seem to hit a wide range of interest and topics. What kind of what kind of
I like
guides you
everything. I
along
don't
this
know.
path? Do you just like have the attention span of a squirrel and you just like go to interesting projects, or like
A
how
little
does that
bit.
work?
I do actually have a problem with that where I'm working on something and then something else catches my attention and I put aside what I'm working on to go do that and then I forget about the other thing. I just like learning in general. Um and when something new pops up, like the VR stuff at the time was like, whoa, but the headset was too heavy for my head. So
Oh,
and it
interesting.
it gave me like horrible headaches. Um so like developing on and off and on and off, like I would get so nauseous at the end of the day. I'm like, okay, it's not here yet. And after that, I started my YouTube channel, so I wanted to get more into like the actual game development. And then all this like AI stuff came out, and I was like, oh, this is cool. Let's just do like a quick website, just showing off because I have so many ideas. And I write them all down. I'm like, which one should I do? And that really, I hadn't seen that idea before, or maybe one other person had done it, but yeah, my attention span is I have to work on
I
that
asked because I
actually.
also suffer with the same problem. My wife is constantly like, "Oh, you're gonna do that, and you're gonna do it for like 3 months, and then do something else." And my problem is, I'll go like buy all the things for it, or like all the software, and now I
Me
have like
too.
$1,000 or $2,000 worth of like equipment or software or something, and then I just don't touch it after 3 months.
I bought a Blender course in December for $400, like a whole course, and I've gone through like 2 hours of it,
Yep.
and it's still there. I have it like open sometimes on the tab just to motivate myself. Like,
Oh, there you go. It's like always in the background, like a project that you should do. It's like school sometimes where you're like, oh, I should do this. Like it's something that's just nagging at the back of your mind. But you're more of a like computer science oriented, like engineer type mentality, or more of an artist side of things?
I'm definitely more tech oriented, but I like to do tech that's mixed with creative artsy
Okay.
stuff. So usually you'll see me doing like games, VR, like the AI stuff. I did it with images, so it had like kind of an artistic
Right.
element
Okay.
to it. So I actually wanted to be an animator before I decided on computer science. And apologies for the air conditioning, might
Oh, you're
get
good.
some noise.
No worries.
But I've always liked the intersection between the two.
Right.
Um,
So what led you down the path of computer science in college?
well, college was kind of the obvious choice for me because I didn't know what else I was gonna
Yep.
do. So like, well, this is it. And I went, I moved out of my town, so I went like a little far away, so that was also a good experience for me, to get away from like the parents and grow up a little bit.
Yeah.
And computer science, well, I was always good at tech. I knew I always wanted to make video games when I was younger. And I was looking at my art skills and I was like, I don't know if this is going to cut it. I should probably focus on the thing that I'm better at and it will probably give me a lot more money. So that was my line of reasoning. And then I could make games and stuff or whatever I wanted.
Mm-hmm. So. And you had a little stint at Google for a little bit, right?
Yeah, that was the 1 year.
Yeah.
I actually haven't mentioned that anywhere on my channel.
Is that a secret?
Yeah, I don't know, because sometimes when I tell people it, they like look at me a little odd or like weird,
really?
and
like,
so I just have not mentioned it.
There's like a stigma behind it. Why do
I don't know. I just like I'm always hesitant to mention it for some reason. I have no idea why.
For pretty good clickbait on your channel.
I've thought of that. I've actually on my channel. Oh wait, now I'm getting off track. Oh, what I was supposed to answer.
Oh no, you're fine. Just follow it. We're good.
Well, on my channel, I also have this weird thing with my channel where like I tried to avoid clickbait for the longest time, just because I wanted to prove that people would like click on the videos and like subscribe because it was like actually educating them versus like some other reason. Or like I didn't want to hear like you're a girl, you get views. That was the main reason.
Yeah, you didn't want to.
But now I'm actually resorting to more clickbait because I'm, having more fun with it. And
yeah, exactly. It's more enjoyable. You've laid a firm foundation now, and you can kind of build off of that. I feel like.
Yeah, but what I was saying, the Google thing. Yeah, that was the after college. I was there for a year. I was doing the residency, which I don't think exists anymore. After my years, I think they closed it. Did I do something?
Oh no. Never again.
Well, it was good. They trained me for like 2 or 3 months, and then 4 months in 2 different teams, and I learned more there than in college. So
yeah, that's my first gig out of I went to school for software engineering, which is like more of like the architecture of building projects as opposed to the actual specific code, but it's pretty much the same thing. I took one extra class and got a minor in computer science, so it's basically the same thing. But after that I started it was just a consulting company where we worked on a whole bunch of different projects and a whole bunch of different code languages, and I learned so much there, like a lot more than going through college. And I feel like that's what a lot of people are a lot more self-taught nowadays than in college. And especially like in the game dev world, it moves so fast and like the technology's advancing so much more rapidly. Like, would you recommend people go to college now? What would the recommended path for someone who wants to get into game development be now?
I mean, I personally don't regret going to college because it helped me grow as a person and it gave me some structure in my life. I think that's the main purpose of college. Apart from like if you're obviously going to be a doctor, you need to go to college, right? You can't be a doctor. But for these creative fields, if you honestly have the hustle in you to like be dedicated and have a schedule and manage your own time, then you don't really need to go to college at all.
I think that's the deciding factor, is how self-motivated are you?
Yeah. You can be self-motivated also for like 2 months and then you become lazy. So it's not only like a little sprint. You have to like be consistently self-motivated.
The YouTube channel is probably the thing that I've stayed with the most consistently over the past like several years now.
Well, that's impressive because YouTube is like one of the hardest things people actually are consistent with.
That's very tough.
So I feel like if you've been running a channel for a long time, then that's pretty like a good indicator that you have what it takes. I mean, everyone has what it takes, but a lot of people just don't believe in themselves, or they say they're too lazy, or they're scrolling on TikTok all day.
Yeah,
And so I'm
exactly.
like, well, what do you want me to do, you know?
So
um
you ended up quitting Google. Did you quit, or you're
yeah,
like the
I say
residency
I
was
quit.
over and you didn't come back kind of
It
thing?
was over. They did want to like continue with me, I'm pretty sure. Like they said to start continuing, but I was just like, no, I'm not gonna like do the whole team matching process,
Hmm.
like to find the full placement team, because I'm not planning on staying. So I say I quit because also it adds more effects.
Yeah, there you go. I, the thumbnail is I quit Google to become a game developer. Something like that.
um maybe
So
it's
how
on
do
my
you
list.
survive now? Because I don't have you released any like games that are out there that people can download? Like
I
how do
mean,
you make money and make a living as a YouTuber slash tutorial person?
well, it's a couple of things, and I was also very lucky in some regards. I graduated without debt because I applied to like 5 million scholarships, and I got a good amount because after out of all of them, you know, you have to get a few.
Yeah, exactly. It's just a numbers
um,
game.
and I have a good like uh portfolio, I guess. A female, Hispanic, woman in STEM. Check, check,
Oh yeah,
check. Oh,
there you
here,
go.
here you go. So I graduated without debt with helps. Google also paid me, you know, a good amount. So that all went into my savings. And then I do live with my mom right now. So I split the rent too. So I split the rent. I don't have a car. I'm under 26, so I can be on my parents' insurance.
Very nice.
It's all calculated.
Yeah. So your month to month expenses are like $100.
No, I actually spend a lot of money. But then recently, like in the last year or so, my channel's gotten more sponsorships. Um, the year prior, I did some hackathons and I won some prize money. So like the money flowed out, but some flowed in.
Mm-hmm. So you're just a
And
bounty hunter now.
no, I quit the bounty hunting days. It was too stressful.
Nice.
Yeah,
Very
just a
nice.
ton of random stuff, but
Uh-huh.
a lot of uh I guess luck and good placement,
Yeah.
I
Well, you
suppose.
stuck with the YouTube channel for a little while too now.
Yeah, 3 years I think coming up.
Mm-hmm. What's your kind of end plan? Do you just kind of going day by day, or do you have an end goal to have some big dream or aspiration?
Well, I've actually been doing YouTube since I was like 10 or like
Ah.
11 with different channels, which I will never say and will never hear the light of day. Um, um, like my number one goal right now is like the silver play button.
Ooh,
Since I
that would
was
be cool.
10, it's been like I know I'm gonna get it one day.
Yep.
um, the end channel, the end. Honestly, I don't really know. Just make fun stuff. I really want to make better content that's actually fun and not just like these clickbait kind of, or like I'll probably move away from tutorials at some point, just because that's not what I want to do forever.
Tutorials
Um,
are hard to make.
oh
They're
my
they
god,
take a lot more time than a lot of people realize.
they're so hard. I'm working on one right now. I told a sponsored one. I said I was like, "Oh, this will be easy." And I picked the most complicated idea because
Oh
I
no.
overcomplicate it for myself too. Like I don't make it easy. I'm like, "Oh, I'll make it. Oh, no worries." Oh, nothing works, and then I'm like, "Why doesn't it work?" And then it's because I didn't do this, and everything's like break.
Yeah, you're like on a flow and then you're just like you miss one step and you're like, "Oh,
It breaks
crap."
everything. Yeah, but they're a lot of work, and honestly, they don't really get many views up front. It's more like over time. You do get more appreciation for people from
Yeah,
people, but like, I don't know.
it's a
You spend a
long,
lot.
long play. I think they're
Yeah.
good for starting out, and I think that's what like I kind of did the same thing on my channel where it's like almost all tutorials right now, and then I'm also looking into getting into more like here's this fun interesting project I was working on, like let's just kind of walk through a more higher level overview of it,
Yeah.
and those are a lot more fun to make. I get to work on projects that are exciting, instead of like doing a tutorial where you have to like figure out how to build a project and then you have to build it again so you actually know how to do it, and then you have to film it once or twice or three times through to make sure you get it all.
Oh, you film it 3 times?
Rarely. Usually I try to my editor's good enough to like splice in the like, okay, we're just gonna go back a few steps and start from there. um but yeah, it's tutorials are good for starting out because like they're
Mhm.
searchable. Like people are like, oh, I don't
Yeah.
know how to do this. But yeah, they're very difficult to end up making.
Yeah, that's why I started my channel tutorials, just to get an initial audience. But
Hmm.
I've always just wanted mostly to make cool stuff and entertain people.
What's the current interest that is your fixation at the moment?
Well, the tutorial is one of them. Um, and then I do have another project that I had started working on a game, like for Steam.
Okay.
Uh, but I put a pause on
Oh
it
no.
to work on this other idea that I had, which I won't say what it is right now.
Secret,
But
secret.
it is really cool. However, yeah, it is taking longer than I expected to. uh, why do I
So
do this to
releasing a
myself?
game is one of the things that you want to do eventually too.
Yeah, it's one of like my dream items to do. But as I was working on the game for like a month, I was like, well, this is gonna take quite a while, to
Yeah,
say the
it's almost like
least.
your channel has to become that if you're making the game. It's just like here's another update.
Yeah. So I decided to like do this other thing to like hopefully bring in some money, like for to sustain it more long term.
Okay.
Was my
Just
line of thinking.
little side projects and whatnot. All right. Very nice. So let's go back a little bit to how much VR experience do you have? Because I feel like one of your first videos on the channel was like going through a VR game jam, uh, like doing a little devlog about that.
Yeah, I remember. I used to follow Valem years back when he
Uh
was a
huh.
smaller channel. So he was like the only Oculus person. I have like I'd say 3 to 4 years of dev experience. And I did work on a lot of VR apps while I was in college. One of them was with a team. It was like a kayaking VR
Oh
game
yeah,
where we strapped the controllers to like an actual paddle and then mapped the movement into Unity.
that's cool.
It was kind of a workout,
That's an
to
actual
be
game
honest.
now, though. They have like a I forget what it's called. It's
Yeah,
like a super high fidelity like kayak game out right now.
there was one back then. I don't know if it's the same one, but I don't know if they actually attached it to the paddles. Now I think they did come out with an add-on to like
Yeah,
buy
it's almost like
paddles.
you can buy like a specific one to
Yeah.
connect your controllers to for
Um.
the super hardcore people who want to kayak all day.
Yeah.
uh,
But yeah, just like small little projects. Sorry for interrupting.
do you think you'll ever get back into it?
I don't know who's to say. Wherever the wind flows.
Yeah. Have you did you see the Apple announcement for their headset? What do you think about that?
So like as I was watching it, I was like, "Whoa, this is cool." And then I read through Twitter, and I was like, "Well, they make some good point." I didn't think about that part too much. I did think the eyes were kind of weird. And like the commercial where he has the headset on for his daughter's birthday. I was like,
It's
I get
interesting.
it. Why I get the Twitter people. Why would you have the headset on? Just take it off. Like I get the concept. I think they're thinking really long term in my head, like where everything is kind of like see through and everything's more AR than VR in my head, where our environment is meshed with augmented items, like cyberpunk style. And
Yeah.
so I think they're thinking with that ahead in their mind. And right now we're just making fun of it. But in a few years, that's going to be our reality once it gets smaller. So I think we're just laughing, but it's probably going to be what we're all seeing in a few years. It's a little scary. I
Yeah.
think. I don't know how it's going to impact.
This first one's definitely gonna be like a dev kit. Like it's not
Yeah.
gonna have a ton of people like buying it. It's still very expensive too for what it is. But
Yeah.
eventually it'll be glasses like you're wearing, and that'll be the whole headset.
Or contacts. Or
Yeah,
like an
that'll be wild.
implant or
Yeah, that's
something.
the
Although I wouldn't want an implant. That's too much.
that's a little spooky.
But I'm excited, but also I like a little. It's like worrying, right? Like what's gonna become of our society? Like the kids nowadays are already glued to their screens, and like anxiety and depression levels are at an all-time high. Pretty sure.
Yeah.
So we're just like putting in like extra
Yeah.
virtual
Remember
layer.
the days when they were
reality.
like, "Don't get too close to the TV, you'll like hurt your eyes," and now the VR glasses they're just right up against your face.
Yeah, I remember a game that actually used to say that, like back off from the screen. It was a
Yeah,
SpongeBob
back up,
game, and
back
I
up.
was like, oh, you're right. Let me get a little back.
I
um,
don't know. Maybe that's where our attention spans came from. We're like the first generation with like just
im-
technology all around us all the time, screens.
Imagine the next one with TikTok,
Mm. Oh yeah, everyone
like
has this
10
like a six,
seconds.
yeah, 6 or 10 second like attention span.
I
So all
mean,
these.
almost. Sorry,
Oh, go ahead. I was just saying all these companies were like Vine was like ahead of its time. Um,
which one?
like Vine was it called
Oh,
Vine? It was
Vine.
like it was like the six
Vine.
second like
Well,
you were very limited, but it was like 10 years ahead of its time.
can't believe it closed.
I
Uh,
know.
TikTok came out of Musically, which I had never heard of Musically before
Oh,
TikTok.
interesting.
Yeah, they turned Musically into TikTok. I think the people bought Musically or something. I don't know.
Hmm.
But it's funny now. Every other social media is copying TikTok. So
Yeah.
like I open up YouTube and it goes to the Shorts page automatically, and I'm like, and then I get stuck there for 5 minutes because
It's
I'm like,
crazy how
they're doing it on
well it draws
purpose.
you in. Yeah, I like I'll be like, oh, I'll just like watch one or two, and then it's like been 30 minutes, and I'm like, oh, what am I
Yeah.
doing? Like,
Well, I've actually set like a 15-minute, not on YouTube, but on Instagram and TikTok. Like every 15 minutes, it's like 15 minutes has passed. Do you want to continue? And I'm like, damn it.
oh yeah,
Snooze for
that's a
15 more
really
minutes.
good feature. I've actually I waver back and forth between taking Instagram and like YouTube and all those off of my phone. So it's like if I need to or want to go like to YouTube or to Instagram or anything, I have to like do it in browser on my computer,
Oh,
which is like a little barrier to entry, so I do it
yeah.
less. It's less fun to be on Instagram on your computer, and so I don't hang out there as long.
I feel like for us who like thrive off of social media, we kind of need to check it sometimes, which is
It's true.
the balance.
Yeah, it's
Like YouTube, I
it is weird.
check.
It's like it's almost like I need it for work, but like I also don't
Yeah.
like want it to distract me. Like I want to put stuff on YouTube and not consume it as much. YouTube's definitely the one that I go back to the most too. It's like that's where I listen to all my podcasts on and like
Mm.
where I learn things and all that kind of stuff. But then it has the sneaky little shorts page that it's like, oh, do you want to like jump into this space and just hang out here for an hour?
Do you want to waste
Yeah,
20% of your day on this app?
exactly. Oh, I don't have time for that. I've got a newborn. So,
Oh yeah, with with a newborn, you'd have to
yeah,
optimize your time now.
exactly. Well, how was
um,
seeing how because you went to GDC this last time around and met a
yeah.
lot of the YouTubers and the people in the social space in person. What was that like? What was the difference between seeing them like online versus in person?
So I actually had met some of them in the Unite
Okay.
last year in Montreal, where Unity also flew me out to Montreal, and there were a bunch of Unity insiders there, like Bargy, Polymars, Manisha, Lana, Lottie, a bunch of other ones
Yeah.
were there. And so it was really weird actually the first time because I was like hearing their voice and I was like, this is how they sound on YouTube. And it took a little bit used to, but after everyone's super nice, at Montreal and GDC, GDC in Montreal, there was such a big group of people. It was only like one day, so we didn't get much time to hang out with people. They literally flew people from Europe for one day.
Wow.
Like people flew in and out, 13 hours. That was a little
That's
too
a
much.
lot of traveling. I would not have slept for like 2 or 3 days.
Yeah, but at GDC they chose a smaller group, which I did also like. So every one of us like talked more, and it was over 4 days, so we became much better friends. And I think I met, I don't know if I met Code Monkey there or in Montreal. Now that I'm thinking, no, he was in Montreal. No, I don't remember. But it was cool to meet like all the YouTubers, and I actually dragged them around San Francisco. I'm like, let's go to Ripley's, believe it or not. Let's do the mirror maze. Let's do the candy store. Let's bike. And they all went along with it.
Like so many
It was so funny.
I just want to sleep.
we were less at GDC apart from like the mandatory Unity stuff. And then I was like dragging everyone around. We did rock climbing too.
Oh, that's fantastic.
It was so funny. It was hilarious.
Very nice.
Actually.
Do you get recognized a lot? Like, do people, like, now that the YouTube channel's starting to grow a little bit, do a lot of people end up walking up to you and like recognizing you and stuff?
At GDC, I think I had 3 people or 4 that came up to me and were like, "Oh, I love your tutorial. It saved my project."
Nice.
Or something. I was like, "Yay!" But since I don't really show my face a lot previously on the tutorials, I don't think there's really a way to know it was me unless you watch like the one stream or 2 I did.
That's a good point.
Versus like Jason Wyman, who like was coming up. People were coming up to him every second. I'm like, this guy dude's famous.
Very recognizable.
And then Turbo Makes Games. A lot of people also recognized him. He makes dots content, which is super niche.
Yep.
But since he's the only one who does it, everyone like knows who he is.
Has ever
who
had
does
an
it.
interest in dots knows about him.
Yeah, and his face appears in every video, like at the start. So
that's
people
what, like, I didn't know what Code Monkey looked like for the longest time.
Yeah, me too.
Because he didn't really show his face, and then now he's like does like, live streams and stuff.
Yeah, I saw it once in a short, and I was like, "That's how he looks like." I didn't know. And
he's having a guest speaker on.
It's weird because I didn't like associate the voice to the face at first.
Yeah, like, he doesn't look like he would sound. Which
yeah. But yeah, it was cool like meeting everyone. It was very fun. I'm hoping Unity will hopefully invite me to Amsterdam.
You gotta get me the hookup so I can come next time.
Oh wait. Okay, yeah, they announced that. Okay. It's not a secret. I was like, shit, did I just break NDA?
Oh, no.
Wait. No, they did announce that, yeah. Okay, good.
We can cut stuff out if we need
to.
Okay. Yeah, my goal for this next like year or two is to start going to a lot more conferences and start like meeting people in person, because the online stuff is fun, but like I think a lot of people realized over the last couple of years that there's nothing really that beats actual in-person like, you know, conversation and hanging out with people and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's a different vibe, honestly, when it's online. Like for example, one of my mods was modding my Discord for like 2 years, and then I by chance went to Amsterdam, and he lives in the Netherlands, so I met with him, and it was like totally different. At first, I was
Nice.
nervous because I have no idea. But after we were like really good friends, after like one day,
Yeah.
um, but it did take a little bit to get like, even though I'm talking to them for a long time online, on person, it's like what?
It's almost like you have
A
to
little nervous.
meet them all over again.
Yeah, because you're not how they you make an image in your head, and then like it's not like what they look like at all because you've never seen them,
Yeah, exactly. Like I've
or
got
you
a
don't know how
couple
tall
mods
they
in my
are.
I got a couple mods in my Discord, and it's just like, whatever their profile picture is, and it's not like of them, it's some like cartoon character or like
Yeah,
graphic or something. And so, yeah, you just come up with whatever they look like in your head.
yeah, and so like at Unite or GDC, it's like, oh wow, that person's tall.
Yeah.
Oh wow, they're short. It was just cool to see like in real life the
Yeah,
YouTubers.
that's something we did for my company. We all met at AWE recently, and we had never like I had never met the co-founder who I started this company with in person. Like it had all been online, and it was like he lived in California, I live in Georgia. Our
Yeah.
developer lived in the UK. Our designer lived in Sweden, and so we all ended up meeting together. And we're like, "Wow, you guys are all really tall." It's like, you look different than I pictured you, and like that kind of stuff.
Did you do like Zoom calls with them?
Yeah, we would
Yeah.
do Zoom calls occasionally, but like even then, like we didn't even really use cameras all that much too.
Oh,
So
okay.
it was still a surprise for some of them who like were never on camera. I was like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, usually I never put on camera like on Discord. It's
Yeah.
not really a camera place.
What made you want to start showing your face on the YouTube channel?
Um I think I got over that thing where I wanted to prove myself. I was like, all right, after a certain point I'm like, all right, I think I've proved, even though I don't have to. But it's more like a pride thing.
You just had to show that you weren't like a 12-year-old boy doing.
Some people have commented stuff like that. Like they just can't believe that I'm a girl or a
Yeah.
woman or
You're
whatever.
actually a man with a voice filter. Come on.
Or they tell me like that like my boyfriend or something wrote it for me. I'm like, what are you talking about? Do you think they write the
so
tutorial
odd.
and then I just like put my voice over it? So perfectly. How did that
That's
work?
very weird. Is there a lot of like negativity towards you being like a female in the space?
On my channel, not really, because I have a more adult audience.
Mm-hmm.
So like my audience is generally 18 plus. So sometimes I do get weird comments. And then I just I'm like, whatever.
Yeah. I'm very prolific with the delete block button. So
Oh, I barely
it's
block
like
anyone.
I'll have an interaction with you, but if you're just like perpetually negative, like you just don't need my channel. So
I actually let them. Just,
yeah. It definitely
um,
drives traffic, that's for sure. Like the engagement and everything.
I only block someone if I'm like, okay, this is getting a little weird. Like,
Like,
I'm like,
creepy.
okay, like calm down. Like it's a little too much.
Do you get a lot of people like trying to date you and stuff?
I actually did get a comment on my latest video that was like, would you go on a date with my brother?
Oh, interesting.
Because he was at the premiere and he was saying that supposedly his brother peered at the screen and was like, oh, I can't believe she's in game dev. No way, she's a developer. And then after they wrote in my comments to do the day, I was like, this is so weird. I'm in my head, I'm like, do these people actually think that works? Because I've never once seen it work for anyone.
Yeah. Well, and even with like game developers, we're a bunch of like introverted nerds usually.
Yeah.
And so we just kind of like stick to ourselves.
But since it's the internet, people like think they can say whatever.
Yeah.
And they have more like, guts.
Yeah. And,
For better or worse.
hopefully that's something that VR might help a little bit with. Just like the actual like interaction. Like if you've been in VR games with other people before, you actually
Yeah.
get kind of the like body, language of what they're saying and that kind of stuff. It makes you feel like you're actually there with someone instead of like this, like we're, talking, having a conversation, but I don't feel like you're here with me in the room or anything.
Yeah, no, in VR, I definitely felt more connected to everyone. But again, it was so heavy. The headset.
Have you tried the newer headsets yet?
No, I haven't had a chance actually. I have a Quest, the first one.
Okay, the first one, the
It's
Quest
just too
2, I
heavy.
feel like it's pretty similar. I don't think you're missing out of much
Yeah, it's the
yet.
same, just probably some graphical upgrades and a little less weight, maybe.
The Quest 3, I've had someone show it to me over video
Yeah.
call, and it's like very thin. It's like half of, so this is like the Quest 2, and the Quest
Oh
3
wow,
is
it's
like
okay.
half of that. So,
That's
um,
interesting. And
yeah,
they
that
packed
one
more
might be a
stuff
good
into
one.
it.
Yeah, it's got a lot of. It doesn't have eye tracking, but it has like
Pass
they're
through.
also like trying to do the pass through AR thing, which I
Yeah,
think
with
is
color.
the future. Is will be AR.
Yeah, but then for example, that's the difference between their headset and Apple. Like, I guess the eye thing. Like they can't really the person in front of me can't really see if I'm looking at them,
That was really creepy.
for example, but it is
The
weird.
screen on the outside. You said that looked very weird.
It kind of like, I don't know if it like shrinks it so that the eyes feel out of place. Like it doesn't feel like a one-to-one translation.
It's almost like it's slightly
Or
below
like
where your eyes
shrink.
should be, or yeah,
I don't
it's
know.
interesting. But
But it's the
it's
first
also
version.
supposed to be like if you're looking at them from like a different angle, it shows you a different perspective of their eyes,
Ah, cool.
which I don't know how it. So like the Mona Lisa effect, where like it always looks like they're staring
Yeah.
at you. Apparently, it's supposed to eliminate that somehow.
Huh.
I don't, my brain thinks of like the agendas we had back at school that were like the dual
I
image.
love
Like,
those.
do you remember that?
Those are my favorite.
Oh goodness, like I could hear the sound of my nails scratching
I
against it.
I didn't really like the sound, but I like the 3D effect.
Yeah, but I'm imagining it's something like that where it's like do they just have like different screens and different angles somehow? But
Well,
it'll be cool to see.
does it does it have like cameras inside where it like tracks your face from different angles?
Yeah,
I'm
there's
supposing. Okay.
they added a whole like second, so they've got the M2 chip, which is their like
Yeah.
new amazing super fantastic chip, and then they created a whole new R1 chip that is
Hmm.
like its only job is to process all of the different cameras and sensors and stuff because there's just so many. There's
Yeah.
like six like downward facing cameras, and then like inside, like there's like all the way around your eye there's like 14 different like eye tracking cameras or something ridiculous like that.
Oh wow.
um but yeah,
Uh
it's supposed to be like super accurate.
well, cuz the in the commercial the hand was like barely in view of the front face of the
Yeah,
headset and it was still like reading all the stuff. So I was
yeah,
like, you
that's
must have a
what.
very wide field of view.
Yeah, like right now so like these are the cameras on the Quest 2, and they're kind
Yeah.
of like angled out at a 45-degree angle. And the Quest or the Vision Pro, the Oculus one has, or the
The bottom.
Apple one has bottom
Hmm.
cameras. So like when you're like, doing hand
Yeah.
movements and stuff, it'll actually pick it up a little bit better. But yeah, there's only like four. Uh one, two, three, four cameras.
Yeah. I
Um
mean, it does pretty well with the 4.
Yeah, yeah, and like it definitely tracks pretty well. But yeah, there's like a ridiculous amount of sensors and stuff. So, and
Well,
apparently
maybe
that's the
that's
expensive part is like all the sensors. It's not really like the processors and the chips
yeah.
and stuff. It's like all the different cameras and like the different like eye tracking, and there's like a lidar sensor on there and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I was gonna say that exact thing. That's probably what's driving the $3,000 price
Yeah,
tag on the minimum $3,000.
yeah,
Um,
that's an
not
expensive
including.
piece of tech.
Yeah, and I imagine like for me for glasses, I'd have to also order the prescription lenses because I
Yeah,
don't
the
think my
little like
glasses would fit.
magnetic prescription things. They have little lenses where it's magnetic that just clip on to it.
Yeah. but I'm supposing that's probably another 200 or
Oh, I'm sure.
minimum.
Yeah.
um,
Knowing Apple and their like $700 wheels for their super pricey computer.
the $999 monitor stand,
Yeah.
that's a meme.
What do you develop on? Do you develop on a Mac or you develop on a PC?
um, I'm mostly on my PC. I have a 3080 and I have like three 4K monitors, right?
Nice.
Horizontal and two vertical. And I just upgraded my RAM to 32 gigabytes. The 16 was too little.
Yeah.
And I also have my M1 MacBook Pro,
Okay.
but it does have 32 gigabytes of RAM. And then like for this thing I'm working on right now, it's not in Unity, so like I'm in my computer and I get tired of sitting here. So I just push the GitHub and then I go to my bed and I open my Mac and then I continue on my Mac.
Yep. That's
So it's
I'm
useful
kind of in the
for
process of pushing. So I've always been a PC person, and the only like Apple thing that I've had is phones.
yeah.
Um, but since the headset release, I'm like, well, if I'm gonna like have to build for the Apple, I'm gonna need some kind of Mac computer because of their stupid
Yeah.
like Xcode stuff.
Yeah.
In order to like run a build, like if you've ever developed iPhone apps and stuff, like you have to build it on Mac.
Yeah.
Um,
You need a Mac.
yeah,
They're
so I'm
not
like,
letting you
well,
build otherwise.
I gotta put all of my computer
Shelf it
files in the
out.
cloud and get ready to be able to swap back and forth between computers.
Well, if you just use if you're working on a project, you can use just a version control.
Hmm.
Easy push pull, like a couple seconds.
Yeah, very true.
But I don't have many things on my Mac. I just leave what I need there. I don't like have imported anything
Yeah,
from my PC.
you just use it to kind of take a walk around.
Yeah, or like travel when I like last year when I would go to these hackathons.
Hmm.
I would bring the Mac, for example, with me.
Were they game development hackathons? Talk about the hackathons a little more.
No, so they were it's not get canceled. They were actually Web3 hackathons.
Okay.
Because I like the concept itself of Web3, like the decentralization, which a lot of people don't understand. They just think of NFTs. They're like bad.
Right.
But I'm thinking about like the technology itself is pretty cool. Like how you can exchange money without like needing this person like staring at you. Although you still need to withdraw the money through an exchange legally.
Yeah.
But you know, it's like a future thing that I'd like this cyberpunk world. Like I imagine like crypto. Like I don't imagine dollars.
Yeah.
When I think of the future, I imagine like virtual currency.
And I would
like,
much prefer a currency that can't just get like seized or prevented from me from getting it somehow.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
and
a lot
then
more
there's
appealing.
yeah, and then there's like other cool stuff that you can do with that technology. Like the NFTs, the whole point is not the image. The whole point is that you can like verifiably prove that you own something on the blockchain.
And I think that's going to be the key with like all this AI stuff coming around of proving ownership is using some like that's going to be the big like blow up for this, Web3 side of things.
Yeah. With AI though, it's kind of a little hard because technically who owns it, right? Since now I understand if you start off within like an AI image and you like drastically change it, so it's like yours, right? Like you start off with a base. But like if you're just putting in like one prompt, for example, and then you're saying this is my image, no one can use it. Who's to say?
Yeah, exactly.
Like who's to say that's yours, or what's the threshold is my question. What's the threshold between like AI and you can use it and then what's mine? Like some people can spend hours making an AI image. Does that count as like something that's theirs? Right
and
now
then
it doesn't.
What happens when you separately make something that's very similar to someone else's like made something?
And that, yeah, that's
Because then you're not copying, you're just kind of like, yo,
inspiration.
you came to that same idea on. There's this phenomenon that I forget what it's called, but it's like once technology, like, basically you use all these like elements of technology to piece together something else.
Yeah,
So like in the instance of like, the Wright brothers building the airplane, it was like the engine and like different aerodynamic like research and stuff. It was like finally like it was like after cars, and so like it was all kind of coming together to make an airplane.
yeah,
um but then also over in France, there was an airplane being made about the same time, like completely separate. And then there was like, in all these other countries, everyone was kind of developing an airplane. And they're like, what the heck? Why is it all like happening all at the same time? It's just because
yeah,
of all these different technologies started emerging at the same time. And then there were these people who saw the emergence and were able to put them together into an airplane. And I feel like it's going to be something like that, like, that kind of ends up occurring, like, oh, like you just put all this together and made it, and it's exactly like someone else's or very similar to someone else's over here.
yeah. But there's always someone who takes the credit.
Yeah, that is true. Whoever gets there first
Who
and is
or
the
whoever.
loudest.
Yeah, the loudest. That's the thing. Because you can be the first one, but then some person can just do the same thing and be even louder
Yeah.
and just take all the credit. Um, I don't know. That's why the legal stuff is probably not going to be catching up for a few years. It's very complicated.
Yeah. It's, like,
Um,
how do you, with this many
I
people
don't
getting
know.
into it, like, how do you regulate something like that?
Yeah, or the technology itself. Like, what's okay, what's not okay.
Yeah. And especially with the AI stuff, like, where people are worried that it's going to get too smart and needs
Yeah.
like limiting on that front too is very interesting.
Well, like for example, now someone can come, you or my channel can clone our voice, can train a model with our face, and then do deep fakes of us and just have us say random stuff.
It's funny. My editor will send me, so we'll work on like a video idea and like come up with a script, usually using like ChatGPT as like a
Yeah.
base now. And then my editor will send me an edited clip of me talking, doing the whole script because he fed it into some AI engine, and
Oh,
then
that's
it helps
funny.
me get like the pacing of how the video is supposed to go and like
Oh,
all that kind of stuff.
that's actually a good
Um,
idea.
which is very interesting, and it's kind of funny because it's like it's not quite there yet. So like you can
Yeah.
obviously like see that it's an AI, but it's really interesting. And then so like I will talk with Valum now, like we're pretty good friends at this point because it's us or like the four developers in the VR development space. And so um my editor actually swapped a video over to French, but it's like my voice speaking like French, and then
Yeah.
sent it over to Vale. He was like, "This is weird. This is really weird."
Do you find that the Chat GPT scripts are like any good?
They
I find
usually
them
are.
too
They're you have to
robotic.
do very small bite-sized chunks. Like it can't do super complex stuff yet.
Mm.
Um, but and also like very specific for like some kind of SDK it struggles with. So like if you ask it any kind of VR question right now, it'll give you a really outdated answer because it goes up to
Yeah.
2021. Um, so it's more of
Huh.
like conceptually, what should I do here? And like you have to actually know the specific SDK like words to use.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but it gets pretty close. And then like for more generic stuff, like if I wanted to build a state machine or a health system or something like that, it usually tends to work pretty good. You kind of did that pretty recently too with like you did like a make a game in an hour challenge. How did
Yeah.
that end
A
up?
horror game. Well, I won the challenge.
Nice.
It was against Polymars plus plus, and he basically told me, "Let's make a video where we only have 1 hour. Everything has to be with AI." I was like, "Oh boy!" So I used ChatGPT, which it was fine for some things, but then I had to like manually go in because I didn't have enough time to tell it like, "Oh no, you're wrong." because
Oh
you
yeah.
tell it it's wrong and then it doesn't fix itself. It
It's
just doesn't
difficult
understand.
to adjust it
Yeah.
without manual intervention.
Um, and then I don't know. With ChatGPT, some stuff worked, but it was I don't know. Sometimes it just doesn't work.
It's kind
And
of
it
funny
doesn't.
when you put it in and it like gives you an error and then you like message it back and say like this didn't work. I got this error and it's like, "Oh no, I'm sorry." Like here's it like tries to correct itself.
But it like tells me things exist and they don't. And then I think it exists. And I'm like, and I try to search online and it don't exist. And I'm like, oh wow, I just spent like a couple minutes trying to look for this thing that doesn't exist. Like it just
Yeah.
makes up parameter names. And I'm like, where's it getting this from?
There was this meme that I saw recently that was AI is coming to steal our jobs, and then it like was like a picture of AI stealing our jobs, and it's like doing the handshake, and it's like the three hands and like the AI trying to generate like a handshake image, and it's always like there's extra fingers and there's like three people shaking hands all at the same time, and
That's funny.
like it's got a little ways to go still.
Well, one thing I was wondering about like ChatGPT is like I've been using it pretty frequently, like when I have a question or like just to write a base script. But I don't know if lately it's making me think less, like
I think
lazier.
you're becoming dumber by using ChatGPT.
Not dumber, but just like more reliant on like using it versus just relying on myself. And then sometimes I spent longer on ChatGPT rather than if I would have just like sat down and thought about it for
That's a
10
good point.
minutes. And I think actually that's been happening to a lot of people, and that's going to keep happening. And then we'll just see developers not know what's going on half the time
Yeah,
because they rely on.
that is interesting because like we're almost swapping from like the you know what everyone's calling the information age has been the last like many years where it's like you have access to unlimited information. The internet allows you to look everything up, instantaneously. And so I have the philosophy of I try not to remember things that I can just look up, which is pretty
Yeah.
much everything. So like
Yeah.
algorithms and that kind of stuff. And so instead of remembering what the actual piece of information is, I remember where I can find that piece of information. So it's like, oh, I saw this on this person's YouTube channel. They have a video about it. I can go watch it if I
Yeah.
need like to know how to do that. And I think the next kind of iteration of that is instead of the information age, it's like the almost like problem solving phase, like where we're like starting to outsource those like
The
problem solving
problems.
skills and like the
That's the
actual like
problem.
thought process. And so it's like, oh, I don't know how to do that, but I'm not going to try to figure out how to do it. I'm just going to ask ChatGPT or
Yeah.
some AI.
And then the AI can be wrong or it can be not efficient and you just wouldn't know how to. That's what I'm worried about, the problem solving. Because yeah, I would search up like the simplest thing on Google a million times. Could be like
Yeah.
how to debug.log. Well, not that simple, but like something like that I'm like, what?
Yeah.
That I should know by now, but I just my brain has like a capacity of how much stuff I'm thinking
It's
about.
like, well, to the detriment is I don't know how to drive anywhere. Like I
Yeah,
live in like
GPS.
the suburbs of Atlanta, and like so you have to drive 30 minutes to get anywhere. And my wife is like, "How do you not know how to get here yet? Like you've been here 5 times." I'm like, "Oh, I just put in the GPS, and then I just go." My brain's like, "I don't need to remember this information. We can look it up."
I'm the same. I literally don't know where anything is in my
Yeah.
city. I just GPS all the time or Uber.
People start explaining
Like
directions to me. I'm like, this is all meaningless to me. Like it's just
they know more than me as like someone who's lived here, and they come visit, and they're like, "What?" I'm
yeah.
like, "Don't rely on me for any instructions. Just
Yeah,
Google
exactly. I don't know. No idea.
it."
That's what. Well, so going back to the AI thing, the people ask me like, do I really need to learn how to code or how to do game development if like AI is going to come in and like do stuff? I'm like,
Yes.
well, you can ask it how to write, like how to come up with a script to do this, but there's no way of you knowing if it's good or not.
Yeah.
Like if it's optimized or if it needs like little tweaks, or like, you just try to plug it in and you're just plugging in this square peg into a round hole, and then you don't know how to like adjust it. So you just,
Yeah. Well, also like this stuff is very visual, and ChatGPT is just like text. So like
hmm
Unity, it's not going to teach you how to navigate through Unity easily. Like you're not going to get a
yeah.
good idea. And there's
Although
usually
Unity's AI is interesting when that comes out eventually, that they've been talking about.
yeah. I'm not going to say anything right now because I don't want to. I just know I'm going to make it wrong.
Yeah, he's just gonna say something wrong about that, but
I know too much. Well, I definitely wouldn't rely on that stuff, like the AI makes stuff up half the time, and like you'll need to know the basic skills for like game development specifically. There's like usually a good way to go about learning game development, and like you can brute force it by just like opening up the editor and being like, what do I do?
yeah.
But it's usually just better to spend an hour watching a tutorial than spend 10 hours asking ChatGPT
Yeah.
what
And
to
then,
do.
or you like break it up into small enough chunks where it's like, this is a very easy thing for it to solve. And then, it can write a method for how to do something, and then you can kind of dissect it.
Yeah.
But like asking it to build bigger stuff it's not quite there yet.
For like the AI art side of stuff, for me, it's going to be more like an add on, at least. Like, it's not going to completely replace
Right.
what you need to learn. Like, you should still learn theory, color theory, or whatever. If you're a 3D modeler, you should learn 3D modeling. You shouldn't be like, oh, AI will generate the 3D models for me soon.
Yeah. It's almost like you should treat it as like an inspiration engine right now, like especially for the art side right now, but also even for like code. Like you
Yeah.
ask it what, code to write to do this particular thing, and then you use whatever it spits out as like inspiration, or like a very low resolution image of what you should actually write. And it's like,
Yeah.
here's the general way you should think about this, and then you go off and actually like write it for yourself.
Yeah, like basically don't take anything to heart what it
Yeah.
says, and just like be thankful that it gives you like maybe a starting point. Sometimes it it does not do a good job at it, but yeah, I think people are making a mistake if they're like starting with ChatGPT as like a base framework to learn when it's not even like right half the time.
Yeah, which circles us all the way back to the kind of talk about learning and going to college. Like, you didn't even necessarily go to college for specifically the learning, but it provided the structure, it taught you how to learn, kind of kicked you off on that journey.
Yeah. Well, for college, actually, for game dev, I didn't learn it in class. I learned that myself. The programming I did learn in class, but then for me personally, the teaching wasn't good. After I left, of course, they hired new teachers. While I was there, some of the teachers, I would honestly skip class most of the time. Not saying to do that, but I would just like see no point. Like I was just wasting my time half the time. Like they would talk about football or something. I was like, why am I here at 7 a.m.? Some classes were good, but overall, I didn't really think it was worth it. The class wise, it's more just like, I guess, just putting structure in my life personally. But maybe the new teachers are better. I heard they're better after, of course. Or maybe some other departments or colleges are better at this. I personally was like, wow, I learned more Google in 1 year
Yeah.
than in like 4 years. And I learned a lot at Google. It's not like just like for surface level. Like they would review my code and like leave me essays every time.
You
I would
did this
open my
wrong, and
code
you can
review
do it
and I'm like,
this better. And
like it was literally like an essay, which was good. It was very time consuming though. Yeah,
code reviews are rough when you're first starting out. I also kind of went through that phase. Like I definitely agree that almost just like doing hands-on, like practical, like just go out and try it. Like once you get up to a certain amount of knowledge, you're able to just kind of start. Um,
yeah. And now you can do it on YouTube. I mean,
Yep.
so many game devs on like YouTube are like 15, 16, 18. I'm like, wow. I was
Yeah, like
I
imagine
was
being able to
so
skip 4 or 5 years and just like be 4 or 5 years ahead of like where you are right now.
yeah. I was thinking about that the other day. I was like, wow, I could have probably have my game released by now or something. I don't know, but thinking about it's not gonna do anything.
Right.
I'm
Exactly.
just thankful I got this opportunity in the first place.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, it's cool. Like there's even like 12-year-olds. There was one 12-year-old once that joined my Discord and was like, I'm making game, and then he was doing OpenGL stuff. I was like, bro, this is not it's a 12 years.
Interesting.
At 12 years old, I did not have one thought in my mind.
Yeah. Remember?
I was just playing games all day and screaming at the TV. But
So your advice is to subscribe to YouTubers like us. learn the tutorials on your own.
yeah, I mean, if you're interested in it, you might as well. I mean, the I saw on my Twitter the Spider-Verse movie,
Mm-hmm.
the Lego section. I don't know if you heard of this, but a 14-year-old kid animated that part in the
Wow.
Lego movie.
That's impressive.
I found him through Twitter, I think, because he remade the entire Spider-Verse trailer, but in Lego, in Blender. But it looked so good that it looked professional, like professional quality. And he said
wow.
it took him a month to make it. On and off. He
Yeah.
was 14. I was just like, and then later he revealed that he animated the part of the movie, and I was like, this guy's 14 years old.
That's insane.
And he's already in the Marvel movie.
Yeah, working for Marvel already. That's insane.
So I mean, if he can do it, like anyone, the resources are there, like
Yeah.
just a matter of determination.
Exactly.
And probably
It goes back to
a bit
the
of
drive
talent
and
too.
how self-motivated you are.
Yeah, probably a talent too, because not a lot of 14-year-olds are like
Yeah.
super mathy or like super into that stuff. But
Yeah. Likely his parents were also like animators or something like that.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure about that. I'd have to look it up. I don't think they were. The parents, though, once they discovered his ability, I think they were like trying to help him,
Right.
which is also good to have like supportive parents.
Exactly.
Maybe they hired like a tutor or something. I don't really know. But
Nice. Cool. Well, we're just over an hour, so I'm gonna wrap this up. Where can people find out more about you?
yeah, on YouTube.
Where we've been talking about.
SamYam, SamYam. That's my handle.
And then you're pretty active on Twitter too, right? I need to get better at being on Twitter. I'm like just kind of come back into it recently.
Yeah, on Twitter, I was taking it a little more seriously lately because it's pretty easy to get people followers. I found it pretty easy. I don't know. Like it's a little controversial, but ever since like Elon took over, like all my stats have been boosted.
Interesting.
And it's not because of Twitter Blue, because they were boosted before I bought Twitter Blue.
Mm-hmm.
I bought Twitter Blue because I didn't want to like be deprioritized.
Yeah, exactly. Like
I don't know if
you're
it's
one of the
helping.
lesser Twitter people.
I don't know if it's helping, but I don't know. Ever
Yeah.
since he like changed something in there, my tweets have been doing very well.
Yeah,
I
recently
also
I have like 700, like a very small amount of like followers, and then I posted something like about like here's a little clip of a project I'm working on. It has like 500,000 views on it
oh
already. I'm like,
wow.
what is going? I
Yeah, it's
pop
so
in here for
easy.
like 30 minutes, and now it's like going crazy.
It's literally so easy right now. It's
Yeah,
that's the
that's my
like
goal for the future. So go to your Twitter. Is it the same handle?
SamYam underscore YouTube.
Everything in the everything will be
SamYam.
linked down below in all the
SamYam was
notes and
taken.
whatnot. But I appreciate you jumping on. We'll have to, kind of do an update in a little bit and see progress on your current projects or what else you're interested in at that
Wait a few
point.
months. Wait a few months. So I can actually finish this one.
Yeah, exactly. You have something to announce.
Yeah. It was a fun podcast. Thanks for inviting me on. It was nice chatting with
Absolutely.
you.